Hey, welcome to Feedback Friday. It's the end of June, people, and I'm very excited to reveal all the hard work we've been doing here at LTTV. So, without further ado, here is the new control room. And our new control room was put together by LTTV staffers, David Carafa, Dan White, and a little bit of help from Paul Moorehouse. And we have very excited to receive our demo products from Blackmagic Design. That's right. So right over here is the Blackmagic Design Broadcast Studio Switcher. And it's an amazing piece of equipment that incorporates so much functionality. So first and foremost, we want to thank Blackmagic Design for allowing us to be a demo school to use their products, and we will be using them extensively in a lot of different production scenarios here at LTTV. The switcher features all the capabilities that we can possibly use, enough inputs for all of our programs, a lot of camera options here, up to 8 cameras, and other sources, graphics, and so on. So we're looking forward to being able to use this here in the studio, and also to produce more programming. So some of the programming, of course, are different gaming shows, D&D with high school students, The Bard's Tale, and also the music show. Last year, Tony and Heather music show. Next year is going to be a whole new lineup. Tony's still going to be one of the hosts, but there's going to be a new co-host since Heather's moving on. The rebuild also included some other features. We have intercom integrated now. The Blackmagic switcher allows us to have tally and remote engineering control over the cameras. So it's a great addition to our programming. Blackmagic also sent us one of the new broadcast Ursa 4K cameras. So once that's all set up, we're looking forward to being able to showcase how awesome that camera is as well. Big news, we also redid the studio. So we're going to take a walk into the studio and take a look at some of the things we did there. One of the things we decided to do with the studio is utilize the space in the best possible way, which means we kind of divided up the studio. So one side of the studio now is perfectly set for our gaming programs. This formerly blank concrete cinder block wall has now been painted to be like a castle or dungeon wall.
They're saying, wow, a new camera to see Carl like never before.
Yes. So this was put together in the past week. We started off with a lot of paint, and it was almost like a crafting project. So Brian Thomas from Initiative Coffee Company, and myself, and David Carafa, and who else was in on that, Brian? Paul did a little bit of painting. So a lot of different coats of paint and affecting and dry brushing, and it came together really well. So we're looking forward to being able to have this as the backdrop to the games. The gaming table has fit in very nicely and been integrated. We redid all of the lighting so that the lighting now is basically comprehensive. It fills the entire space with even lighting, so we'll be able to showcase our cool wall as well as all the stuff that we have on the table. Of course, we have the 3 Blackmagic Studio 4K cameras, and for our top shot, we have a Blackmagic Production 4K camera, and that's got a wide-angle lens on it so that we could see all the fun on the table. We could also swap that lens out with a long lens if we wanted to get close-ups of the minis or the terrain during any of the games. Now, the nice thing about this setup is that we still have the cyc rail, so if we wanted to change out the look and have a talk show or any other kind of program, also like Tony and Heather's music program, we could put up any of our other backdrops and surround the cyc and have a completely different set. Brian, do me a favor and turn on house lights. So one of the features I mentioned with the new Blackmagic Studio switcher is tally. So what that means is that, we'll come over to this camera right here. You'll notice that there's a little red light on here. So now tally basically tells the people on set when their camera is on. It also tells the camera operator behind the scenes when that camera's on. And then this function is the program function, which basically allows us to switch between a camera. While you're on a camera, you could see what everybody's doing on the other side in the control room. You could see what camera they're actually live on if your camera is not the camera that's live. Behind me is one of our backdrops. It's a 12 by 24 backdrop that we've rigged up to be behind the Dungeon Master so that when we flip that shot, it's a nice neutral background. Okay, now the cool part is on the other side of this curtain, we have a whole small micro studio. And it might be a little dark back here, so I'm going to turn on these lights. 1, 2, 2, 2, and 3, 2. So right over here now, we have a small green screen backdrop. And we're basically able to set up a couple lights on stands to light the talent. And these really bright lights are going to light the green screen very evenly. And that'll give us the ability to do additional content. Students can do small green screen productions. Or if we don't want to use the green screen, we simply clamp up any of our other backdrops behind, and we could do interviews, documentary stuff, and so on.
Someone's saying, will you do live D&D for season 3?
Will we do live D&D for season 3? So I cannot reveal exactly
So let's go back over
what
there.
our plans are, but I'll tell you this. We're in the process of integrating the Blackmagic design equipment with the ability to do live streaming. And we're right on the edge of being able to multi-stream. So ideally, in a perfect world, we would be able to stream games on Twitch and YouTube simultaneously. And we're exploring those options. What we want to do before we try doing that is just make sure that on the tech side that everything's working the way that it should. And we need a couple pieces of equipment to make everything work well together. So the likelihood of us streaming games live for season 3 is, I would say, very high. So we're excited about that as well. It's summertime, so all the season 2 cast have graduated. So it's been a little challenging, but you know, today was the season finale for those of you following the show. You got to find out what the surviving members of the cast were able to do. And we still plan on having some games over summer. So hopefully in the next couple weeks in early July, we're going to shoot a few more games. So all of the survivors are now level 2. So we're going to level them up and have a couple more adventures, hopefully, before they go off to college. Some people have asked, what are we going to do? Are we ever going to see those cast members again? I'm very confident that we will. We're looking into either Roll20 or Fantasy Grounds and being able to do some games remote so that all the season 2 cast can clock in on a weekly basis. And if we're able to do that, of course, those would be streamed live as well. So that would be kind of a cool thing to be able to bring that cast back and continue their adventures on their own show. But there will be a season 3 of D&D with high school students with a whole new cast of high school students starting in the fall when school starts back up. So we are going to have a brief hiatus because in the beginning of August, we're going to Gen Con. We have been selected as the official crew for 2 of the big streaming rooms at Gen Con. I can't tell you what we're shooting exactly yet because we haven't gotten the final rundown for programs that are happening, but we're shooting both the exhibitor room and the RPG room. So the live streaming that will be done on Twitch on the official Gen Con Twitch channels will be published in advance, and we're going to be live streaming from those 2 locations. My understanding is that the exhibitor room is going to showcase a lot of new games where the game makers are going to set up a table and actually have a playthrough, and there's going to be a host kind of interacting and asking questions. The RPG game is going to be also its own room, a bigger room, and it's going to have a live audience. So it's going to be a lot like Acquisitions Incorporated Live or that kind of style, where each gaming group is going to have like a 2-hour slot where they're doing their game live. We're covering it all live. We're streaming it live. So we're very excited to be the crew on that. We'll be at Gen Con. Unfortunately, we won't be, able to hang out and socialize a lot because we're going to be working 12-hour days. So Thursday, Friday, and Saturday of Gen Con, we're going to be on the job from noon till midnight. And then Sunday, I think, is a shorter day. So it's a lot of work, but if you're going to Gen Con and you want to find us, that's where we'll be. And hopefully we'll be able to squeeze in a little time to visit the main floor in the morning of each day before we have to go to work. So we hope to see a lot of people there, catch up with some friends, and those of you who are going to Gen Con, make sure you look us up. All right, so that pretty much covers D&D with high school students. It covers the new studio layout and the new control room. Again, I want to thank Blackmagic Design because they basically donated a lot of equipment to us, valued at almost $9,000, which is incredible. So we're very grateful, very fortunate to have this stuff to be able to continue producing our programs. Now, I'm going to sit at the table with Brian Thomas from Initiative Coffee, because we're going to talk about some cool stuff going on. So, Brian and I have been collaborating for a while, going back to the launch of the Initiative Coffee Company YouTube channel. And you may or may not know, but The Bard's Tale is an ongoing series, which is also in season 2 right now. And I have a guest role on The Bard's Tale as Ray, the cook. Brian is the DM and the creator of the original world in which that series is set, and that's the world of Anathema. So Brian and I have been talking for a few months now about launching another new program, and that would be a morning show. Brian, you want to talk a little bit about what we were kind of brainstorming?
So the morning show is, the idea is we're going to be looking at tabletop gaming in general, not just RPGs. And I guess tabletop is a little bit even more specific than, I mean, we've talked about LARP and things as well.
Yeah.
Just general gaming. Maybe we'll touch on video gaming a bit, but focus on non-video gaming. So we'll have different mini programs throughout the show that involve what's new in gaming, what's new in either of our home settings.
A lot of discussion about like geek culture. We'll be talking about new games that are released. We'll have some kind of from the vault recurring segments where we talk about maybe older games.
Hopefully we'll have some guests.
We're gonna have special guests.
Gaming community.
Yeah.
As well.
So we want to expand that and reach out to the community. Some of the guests that are local in the Chicago area would actually be here physically with us, and then some of the guests would probably Skype in or Google Hangout or whatever. But the idea is that we'd have this morning show live, and we'd have a moderator so that our audience can also, Q&A with us and share their interesting things, their comments, their criticisms, whatever it is. But we've got a whole bunch of ideas for recurring segments, and a lot of it has to do with the games themselves, like Brian said, across a lot of different genres, but also other things, helpful tips, GM tips. We'll talk about music in gaming. We'll talk about inspiration for gaming. We're going to talk about terrain, talk about crafting, talk about minis. We're going to talk about
Kickstarters that are coming up.
Yeah, what's new on Kickstarter, what makes a successful Kickstarter. So we hope that a lot of the topics and recurring segments are going to engage the audience, and we hope that you guys will tune in for that stuff. And the morning show is going to be on the Initiative Coffee Company YouTube channel. So if you're not already a subscriber, get on over to the Initiative Coffee Company YouTube channel and please subscribe, because we have a lot of great content coming out. The morning show will be on there. The Bard's Tale is going to be wrapping up season 2 pretty soon, and hopefully the season finale for the Bard's Tale will actually be live. We're going to try to do that live. If it's not able to be done live on Twitch, then we'll be able to do it live on YouTube. So we're pretty comfortable either way that that's going to be a live session. So, yeah, I mean, there's so much going on. Typically in Feedback Friday, I like to address a couple different things. Comments on videos. I also like to give thanks to people. So I have, in the most recent episode of D&D with high school students, if you read through the description, I've posted a list of thanks to everybody who has donated through the RevTrack account, and also people who have given us gifts. And I wanted to have the cast of D&D with high school students here to open up this next gift, but they weren't able to make it. They're all, now college kids and they're working different jobs, so it's kind of hard to get them here. So I'm going to save that for one of our little micro sessions now that they're level 2. So we'll open that one up. But let's just say that our friend Vance sent us a nice package of stuff, and I'm looking forward to opening that up at the table with the students. I do need to give a huge thanks to a donor who wished to remain anonymous, but there was a very kind person who I'm now referring to as the mysterious Mr. M, who sent us 3 copies of the Player's Handbook so that the students can finally look up what their classes can do and look up their spells and look up their abilities. So thank you, Mr. M. You know who you are, and we appreciate you. And those copies will stay here so that future seasons of D&D with high school students will have them as a resource. So we will have those on the table. But thank you again. It's a very, very nice donation. If you're one of the recurring people who has watched Season 1, Episode 1, thank you, because it's at almost 200,000 views, which is just mind-blowing. But I've had a lot of comments from people who watched the first season and assumed that I was kind of pigeonholing the players into certain things with their characters, whether it was like forcing them to be humans or only giving them certain classes that they could choose from. And I want to make clear, as I've done in other videos, that it's really not about me being a control freak. It's literally the setting. So for Season 1, I chose to set their adventure in my homeworld on a certain continent and a certain region where humans are the only class race option. And there are limited class options based literally on the culture there. So it's a totally organic and actually very role-playing, true kind of choice. It really had nothing to do with me kind of forcing my will upon the students, although I could if I wanted to, because teacher power. But Season 2, if you're one of those people who hasn't watched Season 2 of D&D with high school students, you should, because I set it in my homeworld, but on a very different continent. And there's open races and open classes and a lot more options for the students. For all of you newcomers, anybody who's just getting involved in the program, please go back, watch those other videos. Another recurring thing is people will sometimes ask me about where I got the terrain, where I get the minis, or where I get the mats. I have posted videos on my channel for all of those things. So if you go to the unboxing section or the terrain builds section, you'll see all of those videos. Another big thing though is crafting. And I got into crafting because buying miniatures and buying terrain is not cheap, right? So I got into terrain crafting and it's been an awesome adventure. I haven't posted any recent crafting videos, mainly because my basement has been demolished for about 5 months now, so I don't really have a place to craft anything. But rest assured that I will, and when I do, the crafting videos will come back. So any of you people who are interested in getting involved with tabletop terrain or miniatures, there's a wealth of YouTube channels that provide really insightful tutorials. And I'm not going to list them all right now, but if you go to my channel and you look under my subscriptions, you'll see there's just a ton of them. So if you have questions about that stuff, just leave me a comment, and I'm happy to address those things. But in summary, the cool buildings are Dwarven Forge, mostly. I think I have an armor cast building in there. A couple of the buildings that I've used on the table were things that I crafted. And then a lot of the minis are a mix of really either old pewter minis that I've had for years or the newer minis like Reaper stuff. So we do have a lot of crafting videos in the pipeline, and I'm hoping to get the students involved in a crafting session. And we might even do it as a live like mini painting workshop where we gather around the table with all the supplies and paint minis. So stay tuned for that kind of stuff. And we're also going to do a little bit of that on Brian's channel because some of the cast members of the Bard's Tale do great jobs with painting minis. So keep an eye out for that on the Initiative Coffee Company YouTube channel as well. Any questions?
No.
No.
Have you ever been to Peoria?
Yeah, so someone said, "Have you ever been down to Peoria?"
Yes. Yes. Is that Emily?
No, just someone else.
Yeah, actually, we might come down to Peoria. We might do a live show from Peoria. But that would be something that we'd have to coordinate for the fall or winter. But we now have a contact in Peoria, So we're looking at maybe doing a live show either at Bradley University or somewhere around the Peoria area. So that would be the kind of live show where we would have a live studio audience. My preference would be to go to Avanti's and have Avanti's host a live show, because then we could also eat gondolas. So that's how I would like to do it.
There, some people that probably didn't hear it. They're saying, "Will there be a D&D with college students?"
Yes. D&D with college students is my hope with that is to take the cast from season 2, and they all want to do it. Like, they're all down to do it. We just have to figure out how to make it work, whether we're going to use like Roll20 or what, and how to integrate it into streaming either on Twitch or on YouTube. But I think the prospect for that is good. All the cast wants to do it, so they're pretty excited. And Heather and Carl are going to the same university. They're going to Savannah College of Art and Design. So they've even talked about maybe going down there and kind of recruiting people to start up their own thing. And they would have the know-how and the tools down there to do it. So there may be a spin-off show featuring Carl and Heather from SCAD, from Georgia, which I think would be pretty cool. What else? How many of you people have tuned into the Bard's Tale? Because if you haven't, you should. Go to the YouTube channel for Initiative Coffee Company and subscribe and check it out. It's 2 seasons deep, and the most recent episode, which launched today, episode 13, actually is pretty inclusive of my character Ray, who's a half-elf rogue barbarian.
What's your other half?
He's half elf and half, well, he doesn't really know, because he knows, yeah, it's a mystery. So, well, he does know, but
Some different people are saying that they want shirts.
we're working on it. So,
High school kids.
yeah, we're working on a whole line of shirts. So, Heather, as some of you guys might remember from one of the episodes, Heather is really good at screen printing and really good at fine art. So we're looking into doing a whole series of shirts. One of the shirts would kind of be the main D&D with high school students, you know, just the shirt. We might have a deal where we work with one of our fans who did fan art to do the shirt, but we'd have to work out the monetizing side of that to make sure that he was compensated. And then, you know, we've had some suggestions from the audience. Some of the recurring, you know, lines from the show, like "God damn it, Heather," or "Can I thorn whip that?" You know, anything like that. So, yeah, we're looking into the shirts, and I think with any luck, we'll have a line of shirts by the start of season 3 in the fall. So, and of course, if we do that, then, you know, that would help again with subsidizing some of the costs. One thing that I wanted everybody in the audience to know is that all of the renovations in the studio here, the painting on the wall, the new rug on the ground, all of that was covered by your donations. All the people that donated money covered the cost of doing the dungeon walls and the new rug for the studio. So that's literally one of those direct things where your money went directly to the club, and now the club was able to do all this stuff. So that's very exciting, and again, we're immensely grateful for that. So yeah, I don't know. It's been a crazy 6 months. This whole thing has just blown up so much, way more than we expected. And you know, some of you guys have noticed that the way that the kids play the game has changed even, and that is immensely gratifying for me to see as well. They're into it. Heather, even after one game, was like, "I really like D&D now," which was that's so awesome, because we were able to take some people who had never played this game and get them to play it, and they loved it and they had a great time and they're into it, you know. So I think that's one of the things that draws me to the game and has always drawn me to the game, whether it's D&D or other tabletop role-playing games, is just that human interaction. We're sitting around a table, we're building a story. It's a interactive story, and season 2 is proof positive that you can actually have no story, and the story will manifest itself based on the people at the table. So I had no no set storyline whatsoever for season 2. All I did was build a world and I let them play with it. So many of you have commented how the students became like murder hobos and criminals and stuff. All that stuff just happened. I let them do what they wanted to do, and what happened happened. So, but you know, I have 1,000 more stories in mind, and we'll have lots of time and new cast members and D&D with college students. So hopefully you guys will stick around, spread the word. We can continue to grow as a community. And like I said, if you're just now tuning in, make sure you go over to Brian's channel, Initiative Coffee Company's YouTube channel, and clock into the Bard's Tale, because it's an interesting dynamic. And it was one of those things where, like many of you, we were talking one day about like, but what if we did a party that was all just bards, you know?
5th edition gave us the first opportunity to do that without dying
Yeah.
in the first session. So
Yeah, so I mean, it's been a really interesting thing. You learn right away what the flaws are, the inherent flaws of having an all bard party are. Combat can be very deadly, but there are also a lot of really cool things that come from that. And I would say the Bard's Tale is a more mature, kind of maybe a slower pace, because it's building a narrative. And what I think is cool about what Brian's doing and what Initiative Coffee Company is doing with this is that when they run the Bard's Tale and when they run games at conventions, they're not just running adventures that have no meaning. These things are being incorporated into the world, into the actual canon, the history of the world, and the fabric of the culture in the world, which I think is really cool, because it means it's community driven. It's not just like Brian created a world and now you're going to play in it. Brian created a world and now you actually can have an impact in it. Should we tease what we just worked on today? Is it ready to hint at?
Sure. We sat in the studio and shot a preliminary video for the Patreon for Initiative Coffee Company. It's 6 or so tiers to give you plenty of opportunities to see your level of support, which includes everything from getting priority access to our weekly meetups that are either Adventures League or Homebrew, which does add to canon, or all the way up to the $100 tier, which allows you to stream with us on a monthly basis and build canon by participating in a one-shot that has a direct impact on any of the other programming we put out. So we've got the flagship Bard's Tale. I've got 3 or 4 other programs in my head that I'm anticipating launching in the next 6 months or so. And so hopefully the more narrative we build, the more exciting it is for me as a DM to kind of work with what I'm given and navigate essentially a community-built setting. So,
And it's not necessarily something new for Brian's crew, because the original campaign that we started but recording in the studio was the Emerald Blades, and that was a long-running campaign that also kind of built canon for his world in Anathema, and that consequently led into the narrative and tied into the narrative for the Bard's Tale. So let me think, in the last year, how many conventions has Initiative Coffee Company done games in? Not in any order, but Midwinter, LionCon, Origins, GaryCon.
So far 4.
Yeah.
And then we are in charge of all of the gaming for GalaxyCon in Joliet in October.
Yeah.
That'll be 5.
So it's a really kind of cool opportunity, but definitely check it out. Check out the Initiative Coffee Company YouTube channel. And by the way, if you're a coffee drinker, there's a reason why Initiative Coffee Company is a coffee company, because they sell coffee. So
Sure.
You could go to their main website and you could order now.
InitiativeCoffeeCo.com. You can go to our goods and wares page and order your pound of improved Initiative, our flagship medium roast, or the newly launched Fulgurite, our light roast.
And just to be clear, I bought a whole boatload of Initiative coffee for the last gaming weekend that I had with all my college buddies, which is basically once or maybe twice a year. Me and a bunch of old friends from college get together for like a 3-day weekend of just gaming and grilling meat and drinking coffee and drinking. And it's a blast. And so the last one, I basically bought up 6 pounds of coffee and brought it. And every one of these veteran gamers was just blown away by the quality, and myself as well. And Brian, my wife, loves that coffee. Loves
That's
it.
fantastic.
Yeah,
It's the closest related thing to gaming she'll ever admit to.
that is, because she won't game ever. So more than 20 years, never games. But yeah, there's something satisfying whether you buy the whole bean and you just, press that button and that grinder just and it grinds up the coffee, and you pull the lid off and you smell that fresh ground coffee, or the already ground coffee. Or if you're in the area and you're attending one of the events, pick up some cold brew, because that cold brew is legit. And if you don't know what cold brew is, go check it out on the website. It's refreshing.
If you are in the area, we're selling cold brew every Thursday in LaGrange at the farmers markets, and we're selling every Thursday evening at Orland Park's farmers market as well. So
Yeah.
that's something you're interested in, come on, stop by. I don't want to charge you, if you live nearby, I don't want to charge you shipping for coffee. So if you want coffee, just come out to the farmers market. There's a good chance if I have to take it to the post office, I have to drive by your house to do it. So it just seems silly
right.
to me.
Right.
So
And you could always go to the Initiative Coffee Company Facebook page as well and check in on updates and events that they're doing there too. So one of the things that I wanted to address for feedback too was people have sometimes asked like, hey, can I play with you guys? And we're pretty open to having people play with us. So the main thing is that if you're in the greater Chicago area and you want to get together, the best way to do that would probably be to coordinate it to attend one of the Initiative Coffee Company events that they host on a regular basis, which you'll hear about on the Patreon video when he launches that. But Brian and company host a number of events at local libraries, game stores, and what have you. So we have, many options for getting together with people to game. And that's the best way to learn, too. I often tell people, don't go out and buy every book. Just slow down, go meet up with some people and play. And by the way, if the chemistry with those people doesn't work, if you're like, yeah, they were kind of jerks to me, then find another group.
you should try at least 3 tables before you decide the hobby's not for you.
Yes, and then go out and buy a book. Or if you're gonna buy something, buy a set of dice, buy the player's handbook, and just slow your roll there until you're really into the game and you decide to dedicate your money to that. All right, any questions, comments?
No,
Okay, how many
Let's-
people are watching?
19.
19 people. Well, thank you guys for watching. Thanks for tuning in. And I'm very excited to tell you that, again, in the next couple weeks, we're going to be recording and possibly live streaming the season finale for season 2 of The Bard's Tale. And hopefully, I'll be able to get the cast of D&D with High School Students season 2 to come in and play a couple games, maybe some adventures now that they're level 2, and get those survivors to come in. So hopefully you'll be able to see Carl, Heather, Max, and Matt coming into the studio for a couple more games before they go off to college. So thanks again for subscribing. Thanks for following us. Thanks for following Brian and Initiative Coffee. Please go subscribe. It doesn't cost you anything. Just show your support. We appreciate it. And hopefully you guys will stay tuned because we have a lot more content coming out. Thanks. Peace out. Bye.